Yo, yo, yo. Oh shit. It's my shit. That's my new dance. I love Run DMC. Anyway, so time to get down to the nitty gritty. Today's topic, another topic I was gonna go on real quick, because I gotta go do some important things also. Um, Old school rules. I know people hear me talking about this. There are the things and the protocols that nobody talks about. Nobody knows exactly what they are. Um, the old school standard of popping. Okay, it's hard to explain, but it's very easy to understand. It's just kind of things that you know. Like you just kind of like a common knowledge, an unsaid common knowledge. It's not really spoken out in the open, but things have changed so much and so drastically uh, that it's the standards just changed. I think because of YouTube and Facebook and then MySpace and then you know I think it's just things have changed. I'm not saying they changed for the worse, but it's definitely softened um, the skill level for. I have to be honest, we're about 78 to 83% of the poppers who come in or the poppers who have been in since about 2006. Um, Old school rules, okay, are one of the things that I was always taught and it was burned into me for years, and we just weren't allowed to do that are going on now. Um, and then other things. Number one thing is you can't repeat a move. Once you start repeating moves, uh, it is that's bad. That means you haven't been practicing enough, and then you have to keep going over the same thing, the same thing, the same thing over and over and over again. You don't have enough material to get out there to show your stuff. It's okay to have a couple of moves, but and try to freestyle off of what you can create impromptu. That's good. But if you're, let's say, for instance, in a battle situation and you're repeating moves, not good. So you want to practice and start getting to the habit of creating your own things. Based off of the bare basic stuff of popping, which is, your touch, your twist or flexes, your hitting, waving, your glides, which people barely use anymore, and a lot of other things that's out there. So that's the number one thing. We could never repeat. Like even back home when I would battle, we were in between a dance called the jit, and then we were in between popping. And it's before popping got big again in my state. I made it popular. No, actually, it was me and another guy by the name of Leonard Crenshaw, who has the battle all the time. Big up to Leonard Crenshaw. Uh, he was a heavyset man, and he used to play football. And for him to be so big, he was extremely good at glides, and he was extremely good at hitting, and he was extremely good at waving and jitting. So what we would do was we would try to mix the two together, and it made us like super dancers in the area. So it just to the point where we just couldn't be beaten, period. And it was good for a while. But one of our rules was you weren't allowed to repeat not one move. Even though jitting was a footwork based dance, you couldn't repeat. You couldn't be slow, and you had to be accurate and you had to be clean. Otherwise, one, you'll get clowned in school. This is when I was in high school in the 90s. And two, you probably get beat the fuck up because you're just wasting time. The good song is on, the good battle song is on, or the good jam is on, and you're wasting everybody else's time to go in the circle. You know that you're not that good, but you're lying to yourself, saying that, oh yeah, I'm just as good as everybody else, but I'm going to go out here and do some crap. If you want to do that somewhere else, out to the side. That's how mean it was there, And people were literally getting fist fights because of that, because they waste their time. You got to pay to get into these, to where you're going to battle at, and, it's just like that, it's just, you always had a risk. I never ran the risk of doing that because I just already knew, don't do that, because I seen what happened to this dude, what I'm saying, last Saturday, so you had to be on top of your game. Uh, Two, one thing that bothers the hell out of me, okay? And I'm all for it. when it comes to certain things, but there is a flip side to it, and that is touching the ground. Oh my God. Last Saturday, I had a conversation, about a 15-minute conversation with a bunch of dancers. They're all from China, and a couple of them are from the Melbourne area. And I just told them, asked them the question, who all here when they pop touch the ground? Or they use a move where they have to actually physically touch the ground, or they have to spot themselves for a move that they may have not have been polished or messed up on. They have to touch the ground. And all of them, all of them said, I don't touch the ground. And literally no more than, I want to say, had to be about 30 minutes to an hour later, I go into the gym where they were in the into the battle, and what were they doing? They had kept spotting and touching the ground. There was one or two out of that group who almost made it, but they did again. One I know for sure didn't touch the ground at all. He really tried. So I think maybe he actually listened to me on that one. The reason why I make such a big banter about touching the ground, because it takes out the athleticism in popping. Okay, this weeds out all the suckers. Okay, and the reason why I'm saying that is because why do you need your hands to be physically placed on the ground in order for you to achieve this move? Why do you need your hands touching the ground, which is an automatic reaction of the body, when you fall off balance, or when you're doing something like a low W or something like that, to catch yourself from falling? There shouldn't even be any of that. Okay? If you have to catch yourself from falling from doing that move, that means you haven't mastered that move and you shouldn't be doing it. That's like a dude going to the gym trying to lift a heavy weight, and he only needs a spotter, because he has to lift that heavy weight. When the spotter's not there, he can't lift that weight. He has issues. You know what I'm saying? You have to start from the ground up to get to that heavy weight. Know what I'm saying? So how do I retrofit that to that? You got to practice those moves and get your body strong down there so you can support that type of movement. Back when I was coming into popping, and back when I was battling through high school and whatnot, you weren't allowed to do that. It's just like, no. That was one of the things that you get clowned on. Like, you had to touch the ground to do that? Why? Why'd you even do it for if you needed to do that? Like, that's what makes you hard, That's what makes you good and sets you apart from everybody else, is that you can do all these things without touching. I remember Slick, when I used to roll with them, that was one of the things that we saw in common. He was like, yeah, man, just stick to that, because that's how it was for us. If you touch the ground, you're fucked. Like, there's just you can't come back from that. Because when you jump in the circle, due to whatever area you're from, you have to be good. You have to be good. All your moves have to be polished and clean, otherwise you're going to get clowned. They're just like, why would you bother? It was a game, but it was like a serious game, because people actually took their time out to perfect their moves, and then you're going to go in there, put your hand on the ground with all this other bullshit, and not do anything. So, touching the ground, this is what it does. It takes away the athleticism, and it takes away from the creatism. So, not saying it's not creative, because I see Pete doing it all the time, and then once Pete started doing it, everybody did it. I mean, everybody did it. I resisted on that shit. I just didn't want to do it, because I don't follow behind anybody like that. I say, if I'm going to do it, I might as well be the guy who can, and this is the analogy I always use, I'd rather be the guy that can do the backflip with no hands rather than the guy that has to do the backflip with hands. You know what I'm saying? Which one is harder to do? Which one is a bigger risk for injury? That's what makes the dance magical, and that's what separates the novice from the expert. Case in point, the one person who I know who does a lot of that stuff, who has the old school rules instilled in him, is Green. He is known for doing those low risk, those low bearing to the move, ground moves and stuff like that, without touching. And you see what he looks like. You see what I'm saying? If you go out there trying to battle against anybody like that, and you start touching the ground and he's not, do you actually expect to win? You just totally screwed off everything you did prior to you doing that. I know people want to do that and they say it's art. No, but this is popping. It's still art, but it's popping, you know. And in popping, you just don't do that shit. I don't care what you say. You go out there and try to touch the ground against somebody like me, we're gonna blow you out the water. Plain and simple. You're not gonna win because we see that as a defect. Okay, it just is. So the touching the ground thing, you got to get away from that. You got to practice the moves that are going to build you up to do those moves that you want to do down there. Okay. Um, Now the next thing is when it comes to uh, shoot downs and things like that. High risk moves, medium risk moves, and everything else in between. The There's a lot of moves over the past 10 years that have literally just disappeared. Like they just don't exist anymore, or they're not being used as frequent. Then that is shoot downs. Shoot downs used to be, if you can do shoot downs easy, you know, even getting to the level of Jazzy J back there in the 80s, that was extreme. It's still extreme because people don't touch it. Why? Because it's a high risk for injury. Uh, Another move that I knew, even on the Boogaloo side of things, is 747s. I don't see anybody ever touch those. Most of the kids out here don't even know what the hell it is. That's how much information has gotten ransacked and gotten away from popping that's highly usable. You know, they don't know what a 747 is. The bad part about it is that, and I know I don't have anything, this is not anything against Pete and them, is that you got kids out here claiming that they do boogalooing or they're into it, but they don't know shit about that. And these are boogaloo moves. A 747, it's like it's insane. Like that's one of the hardest moves to do. Why? Because if your feet stick, you blow your knee out. Two, the way it's actually done is that you're going like this in a circle all the way down and coming back up. You know, on a slight tilt backwards. You know, that's a move that's kind of like, you know, once you start doing it, it ain't that easy to do. You know, shoot downs and things like that is that's extreme shit, man. Like you can really hurt yourself. You know, you can tear the ligaments in your knees very easily. You can tear the ligaments or overstretch the ligaments in your ankle. Depending on how you set down, you can bruise the ankle and the tendons around it. I mean, there's a lot of issues that come up with those moves. You got to stretch for them. You got to train for them. You got to get your legs strong enough. You got to get your core strong enough to support your weight. If you're going to hold moves low to the ground without touching, you got to go through the work. That's just how it is. Um, so yeah, the touching the ground thing I'm very sensitive about because I feel like we weren't allowed that. Like, why would that standard change? I don't want to touch the ground. You'll see a move where I'm I'm in a W. Oh, when I did this battle with Slim, and it wasn't my choice. Frantic just threw my name on the list. Thought it'd be funny to do it. Dick. So he thought it'd be funny for me to just do it. I wasn't prepared. I was in some skinny jeans and a V-neck, and I had my glasses and the hat on. I was just chilling. Then I just wanted to come. I was promoting the summit, the B-Boy Summit that I was doing with Asia, and Frantic threw me in there. But on the footage, you'll see that me against Slim, there is a move where I hit a W, and I'm not touching. My hands never touch the ground. You know, my hands never touch the ground. I'll hit the W and then I'll hit my foot, boom, and it goes into a wave and it gets me back up. You know, so that's why it looks extreme, but nobody notices it. Everybody rather get the easy oohs and ahs from touching the ground or hitting a little accent or something for things that just, you know, that don't shouldn't even get oohs and ahs. You know, and that's just the way it is. You know, you got to look at those things. But yeah, I want everybody to do their homework and start adopting these principles. The people who actually give a shit. The people who give a shit will exceed past everybody else who is going to be like, Temple's full of shit. And if you think I'm full of shit, you know what to do. Come holla at me. I'll be more than happy to facilitate what you need. So, or help you fix everything, or help you realize what's going on. You know, uh, yeah, yeah, that's about it. So I know this is just a quick word into what's in my head and the standards that I have for people in order for them to get really good fast. It doesn't take long to do it. You know, uh, But yeah, stop touching the fucking ground. That's not art, you know. There are moves you can get around it. Like I've seen Mr. Wiggles do a move where he does a backslide on his knees, but his hands aren't flat. His forearms are, and he's doing waves with his hands and stuff as he's moving backwards. See right then and there? That's cool. Okay? But he's not touching. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen that. You know, I've seen Frank Boogie do shoot downs galore, and he's not touching the ground. You know, Jazzy J the same thing. Fish the same thing. You know, Green the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Uh, shit, man. Even Mike Watson, I've even seen that don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just that's how it was back then. We just don't do it. So that's my good word. At the 15-minute mark, I hate making long videos like this, but it's well needed. Hopefully y'all listen to this and maybe it helps. It's not me just bantering, just me giving good information. I love all you guys and I enjoy watching your popping and stuff. Even though I'm so far away, I still like to keep a close eye on things and see how everybody's doing it. Hoping everybody that getting to where they really want to go and hitting their goals. So that's about it. Y'all be good to each other, and as my good friend Pacaliga would say, always a pleasure. Peace.